Hi and welcome to this video. In this video, I want to do a Cloudflare DNS tutorial. So I will only be concentrating on DNS and anything that is closely related to Cloudflare DNS. Cloudflare DNS is free. You can use it to manage your DNS for as many websites as you need to. I'm going to use a domain from Namecheap for this demonstration, and I'm going to use Hestia Control Panel for this demonstration. The way that it works is that, first of all, someone will request your domain, and then the domain needs to be redirected to a server via DNS. So that's where Cloudflare is going to come in. Let's go to Namecheap, and I want to choose one domain that I can use. Before we even get there, just make sure you create a free Cloudflare account. And first, you're going to see how to add a domain to Cloudflare. So let's come here, and I'm just going to use this domain as a sample. So the domain is already using Cloudflare, yes, on Namecheap, but I'm just going to use it to show you how you can add your domain to Cloudflare. So I'm going to search for the domain here. First, let me delete this domain from Cloudflare, and then we're going to start the process of adding it. So if I scroll, I can remove from Cloudflare. So I'm just going to click there, remove from Cloudflare, and I will confirm remove. All right, now the domain has been removed from Cloudflare. This gives me the opportunity to add it to Cloudflare once again. So to add a domain, just click there on Add Site. When you're creating your account, you'll need to add a domain right away. So this should help you go through that step as well. So add your website. I'm going to add the domain there, and then click Continue. The next step, choose a plan. Of course, I will go with the free plan. You can read the features you get on the free plan. I will click Continue. So it's going to scan for any DNS records and then add the DNS records to Cloudflare. So these are the records which were there initially, and I'm just going to leave them because I don't want to go through the process of deleting them. I would have to delete them one at a time. I don't want to deal with that. And then click Continue. So the next step is you need to change your name servers on your domain provider. So as I said, I'm using Namecheap as an illustration, but just go to wherever you bought your domain from, search for DNS, and then under name servers, you can change the name servers for your domain. So in my case, I'm just going to click copy, come back to Namecheap, and I will go and manage the domain. And scroll down again, custom DNS. There, of course, choose custom DNS. Paste the first name server. Copy the second name server. Paste it. Click on that to save the changes. Come back. And then continue. And for security performance, I'm just going to click on finish later. So let's just wait for this to propagate. Once the domain has propagated with Cloudflare, you will receive an email telling you that the domain is now active on Cloudflare. And if you refresh the page, you're going to see, great news, Cloudflare is now protecting your site. That is done. The next thing, of course, let's click on DNS and let's see the DNS settings that we have. These were taken from what was already there before. If you want to host your website, you're going to have to change some of these DNS records. You're going to add your current server. So for example, my current IP address is this. So I'll click to copy. And for the domain to work, you need to have an A record for your main domain. So that is this one right here. So I really don't want to change this because I'm using it somewhere else. No problem. I'm just going to change it. Let me delete it so that we can see how to add a new record. So I'm just going to delete that. And then add the record again. So I will add record. I will need to add an A record and the name I will add @ so @ simply replaces this @ with your domain name. And then we need to add an IP address. This is the IP address for where the domain is being hosted. This could be a shared hosting provider. This could be a VPS cloud provider. You're the one who knows where this IP is coming from. So once you do that, on Cloudflare, you can choose to proxy. If you're hosting normally, you can just leave the proxy turned on. This is going to secure your endpoint by replacing it with a Cloudflare IP. So if people search for your A records to find out your IP, they won't find out your IP. They will find out the IP for Cloudflare. So that's what proxy does. It proxies it for you. And I'm just going to click there on save to save that. So that's the first part, right? So you remember earlier on, I told you we were going to use HTRCP for the demonstration. So my HTRCP, which is a free control panel that you can use to host multiple websites. So my HTR is the one with the IP address that I've added here, right? So this could be cPanel. If you're using a shared hosting, you'll get the IP address from your cPanel. I have that added. After adding the A record, of course, you'll also need to add a CNAME record for www. And the reason I usually use a CNAME record is because I don't want to add the IP address all the time. You can also add the www record as an A record, but that means I'm going to have to add it with an IP address. And that means next time, if I change my server, I'll just have more places to change my IP address. So that's why when I'm adding www, I usually just use a CNAME for that. So the next step, let's just see where this domain goes. Now that we've added the IP address for HTRCP, we should see the default page for HTRCP. All right, so this means that it's being hosted on HTRCP. And what I can do, I can come in here and add the domain. I haven't added it yet. Let me just click on web. I'm going to add a web domain. So the domain that I want to add, of course, is the domain that we have here on Cloudflare. Let me just copy that. Copy. I will come back, add the domain. I can add the DNS support, and I will show you why I'm adding the DNS support. I can also add the mail support. Then I'm just going to save. Now the domain is added here. We can also enable SSL for this domain. And since all these records have already been added to Cloudflare, we have an A record that's pointing to our server, and we have a www that's pointing to the domain. I also need to change it to the public IP address instead of using the private one. And I'm going to enable SSL. So I will use Let's Encrypt SSL. I can enable automatic HTTPS redirection. And I can save. So just giving it time to generate the SSL certificate from Let's Encrypt. And then we're going to refresh this page and we'll see what's happening. There you go. As long as you've seen changes saved, that means that no error happened, at least for HTR, that is true. If you come here, you can show certificate and you're going to see our Let's Encrypt certificate that's been generated right there. So if I was to refresh this page, so it's saying this is not redirecting properly. Sometimes this happens because it hasn't propagated properly, but let's just try to remove that and then save. Let me come back and try to reload. And there you go. Now that's working. So the next thing, maybe you might want to install WordPress on this domain. Now you can do that because you already have SSL set up. You can just click there and install WordPress. If you want to install WordPress, just click on WordPress and install it. Now the next thing, let's see how to work with a subdomain with Cloudflare DNS. So let's say I have a domain that I want to call shop. You can see I already have some subdomains. These are all subdomains. Blog, pan, these are all subdomains. www.blog. So let's say I have a domain called shop.tutoru. If I go to that, nothing is showing up for me. It is not working as it should. What should I do? I will just go to Cloudflare and add an A record for that subdomain. So I will add an A record. I will click there to add a record, and here you can choose the type of record to add. In my case, I will add an A record, and I want to use a subdomain called shop. So here I will put shop, and then of course for this I need to add the IP address for my server. So I'll come back to DigitalOcean, and this is the same droplet I created in the DigitalOcean tutorial. So I'm just going to copy the IP from there, and I'm going to paste that in there. And once again, you can proxy, and to proxy is just like hiding your IP address from the public. If anybody queries this to find out the IP address, they will only see the IP address for Cloudflare. So I'm going to save. For this as well, sometimes you may need www.shop, and you can add www.shop. But today I want to try and see if Hestia is going to work with just shop without the www record added. So if I come back here, I want to add another domain. I can click on add web domain. So if this was cPanel or direct admin, just the way you add websites there, just follow the same procedures and then add the records on Cloudflare. So here we want to add shop dot that, and let me choose the public IP address, and we want DNS support. So I'm still going to show you why I'm adding DNS support for my domains. So I will save. I've added this domain, so I can click on it, and I also want to generate an SSL certificate for this domain. So I will enable SSL for this domain. I will use Let's Encrypt. Let's just forget about this for now, and I'm going to save. As I said earlier, as long as you see changes have been saved, it means that everything worked well and the SSL certificate was generated successfully. So if I come back here, you remember the last time I tried to visit shop. I got this error on my browser. So if I try again, let's see what it's going to bring me. And so why am I getting this error? So let me just go and open this in Chrome Incognito. Chrome Incognito. Right, so you can see if I open it in Chrome, it's working. The other side is probably due to the web cache. I can install whatever I need to install on my subdomain. So I'm just using HestiaCP as an example here. If you're using cPanel on your shared hosting, the process should be almost similar, even though they work differently. Just add the records here and do whatever you need to do on your control panel, like add the domain and then install anything that you need to install, right? So the reason I've been adding the DNS records, and if you're on cPanel as well, there should be a place that will show you your DNS records. So you can come into your DNS records, control panel DNS records, and then you would copy them one at a time to Cloudflare. So for example, if you want mail to work, you'll have to add an A record with your IP address for the mail subdomain. So I would come this side and then add an A record. Add an A record for mail. And then add the IP address. Let me copy the IP. Copy. Add for the IP address, and for mail, probably you won't need to proxy that. So if mail is not working, just unproxy it. But for now, I'm just going to leave it proxied. Let's come back again, and all these other records, just copy them one at a time and add them there. For instance, let's do another example with MX records. So MX records will usually tell the mail providers where to send mail. So if I come here, I'll just add record, and then I will choose the MX type there. Then for the main domain, you just add @ and you add the sub. So for this, we'll use the mail server, and our mail server is the one we added here. So I'm just going to paste mail dot control V, mail at that priority, and then save. So all these other DNS records, add them. Let's do one example with TXT. We can do the long one here. So I'm just going to click on it so that I can see the full thing. So the domain is that, the record is this. Let's start from there. We're going to create a TXT record, add record, and I want to do TXT record. TXT record, and then the name is required. The name is what I've just copied, and then we need the content. So the content is that. I will come back and I will paste that in there, and I will save. And there you go. That's just how you do it. You just copy the DNS records from here, add them to the other side. However, if your domain was already running, you won't need to do these steps because Cloudflare is going to automatically pull in the DNS records that your domain was previously using. And if the domain records that it was using were these records here, then it's just going to automatically take all these records and add them to Cloudflare. And if anything is missing, you can add them later. But that's something that you should know. If these were already in existence, then you wouldn't need to add them here because Cloudflare will automatically pull them in. And you saw Cloudflare added most of these DNS records when I added my domain. That's a quick basic tutorial for Cloudflare DNS. So just an overview. The first thing you need to do, add your domain to Cloudflare. Take the name servers that you get from Cloudflare and add them to wherever your domain is being hosted, wherever you bought the domain from, that is. Go there, change the name servers to the provided Cloudflare name servers. And then after that, you can change your DNS records as appropriate. In my case, I was using HTTP and I just added my domain records here. And if I access a website that I add to my control panel, it's now accessible and you can install WordPress or whatever. So if I was to, on this domain, install WordPress, quick install app, and I will choose set up WordPress on that domain. Site name, just call it sample. Everything else I can leave as there. And then I will click on save to install WordPress. There you go. This means that WordPress has been installed. So if I come in here and I refresh, I should see the homepage for WordPress. So that is a quick demonstration for Cloudflare DNS, but let me not end there. Let me go ahead and do a bit more. If you want to work with SSL, change the SSL settings, you can come in here and if you scroll down, you can change SSL to these different settings. If you want to use the strict protocol for SSL, you can turn it on, but make sure you have an SSL certificate generated on your domain. If you want to change the website cache settings, just click there on caching. Let's look at configuration and you can purge the cache. So Cloudflare provides an automatic cache. So as long as you add your website to Cloudflare, it will cache your website. You can change the different cache settings right here. So if you want to purge, you can clear the Cloudflare cache for your website right there. You can change the caching level, browser cache, time to live. You can change that, how long you want the cache to be there. If your website never changes much, you can go as far as you'd like to for the static content, that is. Just go ahead and click on these different Cloudflare links to see what you can do. Let's look at security and see what options are being provided here. So you can click on WAF to enable the Cloudflare WAF, Web Application Firewall. You can create a rule to prevent certain things from being accessible on your website. So there are lots of tutorials for this. Cloudflare is a pretty huge platform. There are lots of different options here. The best you can do for yourself is learn one thing at a time. If you want to use anything, just look at the documentation, look at YouTube tutorials. You're definitely going to find a tutorial about all these different features. So that should cover Cloudflare DNS tutorial. In this tutorial, you've seen how you can start working with Cloudflare DNS. And I've covered the different parts that work together to make Cloudflare DNS any useful to you. And one of those, of course, is your domain provider. You have to change your name server on your domain provider, and then also your web hosting control panel. It could be your self-hosting, or you're using a shared host. If you're using a shared host, if your domain didn't exist previously, take the records from wherever your DNS records are, and then you paste them to Cloudflare like I've shown you. The bare minimum you need for your domain to work is you need an A record that shows your IP address for the domain or the subdomain that you want to access online. And then after that, you can add the others like mail and anything else that is there. That's it. If you have any questions about Cloudflare DNS or web hosting, just feel free to let me know.